we're back. Alright. I think it's time to continue Sakamoto's route and probably end it. Let's go. We got 2 chapters left. Because we just started chapter 3. Let's go! June 1868. Edo Castle had given its official surrender to the Imperial Army, and soon the city was swarmed with soldiers clad in Western-style uniforms. Why am I getting a text? Alright. I'll remember that. All soldiers and retainers still loyal to the shogunate. Really? Yeah, right now? All soldiers and retainers still loyal to the shogunate were off heading north, fleeing for a better position. Even if Edo fell under the reign of the Empire of Japan, there was still plenty of war left to fight, and plenty of bodies left to fight it. Ow! Day by day, the huge laceration on my back was improving, but its inconvenient location made applying medicine somewhat miserable to do by myself. Ryoma had been kind-hearted enough to offer to put medication cream upon it. His head would pop in, and he'd shyly ask, "You sure you don't need help with that?" Since that location was a tad more intimate than, say, my arms or legs, asking him felt quite strange. From what I recall, he was currently somewhere near Itabashi to see how things played out, but I wonder if Nakaoka and the rest of the Furies were still there, waiting for him to rear his head. I heard the front door open, and then...
Yo, Chizuru. 遅なって悪かったにゃ。腹へっちゅう思うて、屋台で天ぷらを買うてきたぜよ。好きやろ。
Thank you. Huh? What's the matter? Why are you staring? I gasped, realizing why Ryoma was stone silent. Oh no. He entered in the room while I was half naked in the middle of changing my bandages. Get out of here!
すまん、わざとやないき。
That doesn't matter! Get out! Get out! Get out!
わかった。出ていくき。
With that, Ryoma hurriedly left my sight, sniveling in the other room while I sheepishly finished changing my bandages. I'm pretty sure I picked the bug, but I hope that came out clearly and good. It's fine.
けんど惜しかったにゃ。どうせやったら怪我しちゅう時やのうて元気な時に見たかったがやけど。
Ryoma. Jesus. What are you suggesting? Forget that happened. I blushed, frantically turning away from Ryoma as he grinned with excitement. Of course he would. But eventually...
けんど元気になってくれてほっとしたぜよ。おまんが俺をかぼうて中岡の刀を受けた時は心臓が止まるか思うだけ。
Oh. The trauma of receiving that wound was ignited. In the moment, I was controlled by an instinct to save Ryoma. I'm sorry for worrying you so much.
いや、気にしなや。多分俺もおまんに随分心配かけちゅうはずやき。
A faint twinkle glimmered in Ryoma's eyes and he reached to rest his hand atop my head. His white, coarse palm calmly patted my scalp, and I felt my heart pound inside of my chest with increasing vigor.
千鶴、どういたかな。ぼーっとして。
Oh, nothing. Actually, I remembered what I'd wanted to ask. Have you learned of Nakaoka's whereabouts?
それがさっぱり長よ。新政府軍の中に羅刹が紛れちゃせんか。今知らぬいに調べてもらいゆうがやけど。
I see.
まさか中岡があんなに早う血に狂うてしまうとは思わなかったけど。
Yeah, just a little bit. The image of Nakaoka's shifty, erratic eyes sent a chill down my spine. He drank the water of life around the same time as you, didn't he? It begs the question of why he would have gotten so riled up from his bloodlust.
あいつは俺よりも多くの人間の血を飲んできたってことやないのか。
I fell silent, struggling to find anything meaningful to say in response to Ryoma's supposition. If that were the case, then I'm sorry. An apology was all I could muster.
どういた、いきなり。おまんに詫びられる覚えはないけどな。
Well, I am. The person responsible for inflicting this condition upon you and Nakaoka is my father.
そんなこと気にしちゃったがか。前にも言うだろう。今は親の罪を子が背負うらの時代やないき。
Ryoma is here telling the truth. Yet it still happens in modern day, and nothing is gonna stop it.
おまんには何の罪もないぜ。
There was no doubt in my mind that Ryoma's sentiment was genuine, but there was much for which I had to atone. There was much for which I had to atone, knowing that my father was the mastermind.
ほら、その湿った顔やめや。せっかく二人きり長やし、もっと楽しい話をしようや。
But
でもやないき。悲しい顔も色気があってそそるけど、おまんにはまだ早い。
snapping out of it was easier said than done, but I welcomed having Ryoma around to talk me out of my bouts of anxiety. So then... what did you want to discuss?
そうやな。お互いの好きなところを一つずつ言い合うていくがはどうだよ。
What? Why?
まずは俺からやね。おまんの好きなところは素直で考えちゅうことが顔に出やすいところだね。ほら、次はおまんぜよ。
I'm not good on the spot.
まさか好きなところらないちゅうがやないろにゃ。一つぐらいはあるろ。
Now he's the one being pouty. As Ryoma described things that he liked about me, I felt sheepish, my cheeks blushing intensely. Don't worry, the yawns will go away, I swear. Having to do the same in front of him was nerve-wracking, and I shook as the words came out. Well, you're so cunning, and you're good on your feet, I guess.
なるほど。おまんは俺のそういうところに惚れちゅう。
What do you mean, love? I was only saying what came to mind.
ほんなら次は俺やにゃ。他に好きなところは抱きしめたらええ匂いがするところやろうが。
Like I said,
お二人さん。
you picked the worst times to come in. You know that?
昼間っからイチャついてるところ悪いが、そろそろ俺に気づいてくれねえか。
As I rushed to glance over my shoulder, I saw... Shiranui! When did you...
さっきからいたぜ。お前らが二人の世界を作ってたから気づかなかっただけだろ。
野暮なやつやにゃ。分かっちゅうがやったら少しは気利かしや。
そんな義理はねえだろ。俺たちはあくまでも対羅刹で共闘してるだけなんだしよ。
で、どうやったか？会津に向かう新政府軍の中に羅刹は紛れ込んじょったか？
いや、それらしい連中の姿は見当たらなかったぜ。
Okay, so they're not heading to Aizu.
江戸湾に来てる薩長の黒船の中も調べては見たんだがな。
そうか。あいつらどこに行ってしもうたかやろ。
What's it about a Sacho black ship docked by Edo Bay?
旧幕府軍が持ってた黒船は幕臣の榎本ってやつが北に持って行っちまったからな。薩長は奴らと戦うため新政府側に寝返った藩から黒船をかき集めてるんだとよ。
What? It wasn't the news itself that surprised me, but rather the confirmation that Edo was under total jurisdiction of the Imperial Army.
さて、そんじゃ俺はそろそろ行くからよ。あとは二人で好きなだけイチャついてくれ。
ああ。いろいろありがと
う。礼には及ばねえよ。高杉にしてやれなかったことをしてるだけだしな。
Shinsaku Takasugi, a Choshu warrior who belonged to the Imperial Nationalist Party. He was a cunning strategist and founder of the Kiheitai that helped organize the two Choshu expeditions. Shiranui lowered his head curtly and briskly left my homestead without another word. Silence fell upon us once more. The wily, eager expression on Ryoma's face had vanished. He couldn't let Hakuoki and the rest of the Furies go on living, but feasibly we had no means to locate them, let alone defeat them were we to discover their location. Meandering in this hopeless uncertainty took its toll on Ryoma, regardless of how cheerful he acted. I searched for ways that I could comfort him, pursing my lips in contemplation. Hey, Ryoma, would you be interested in seeing the ships with me?
船やと。
The ones that Shiranui mentioned? There are black ships arriving and departing from Edo Bay, aren't there? Aren't you passionate about naval ships, Ryoma? Why don't we go for a change of pace? I braced myself for disappointment, ready to hear that Ryoma wasn't in the mood to go anywhere.
俺は構わんけんど。おまん、怪我の調子は大丈夫かい？潮風は傷に用ないろ。
This is nothing. I'm a demon after all. I'm sure that in a few days my injury will be all healed up.
そうか。わかった。それやったら出かけることにするかい？
I'll get dressed right away. Edo Bay was just as Shiranui had described it, filled with ships emitting a thick odoriferous smoke? The ships were arranged side by side, almost like enormous whales resting on their stomachs. Strangely resembled a magnificent foreign port.
いや、でかいにゃ。俺が持っちょった船も相当やったけんど、 それ以上にでかいぜよ。そう言うたらペルリがこの浦賀に来てからもう15年になるがか。まあ覚えちゅうかい。
Matthew Perry, an American naval commodore who, by written decree of the President of the United States, helped bring foreign influence into Japan by encouraging the opening of its port cities to trade. Right, encouraging. Well, no, I was a child then. The only recollection I have of that event is a neighbor I had who made a fuss over the whole thing.
あの頃、俺はちょうど剣術修行で江戸に来ちょってね。この目で黒船を見たがせよ。
Really? The look in your face tells me it still excites you. I can only imagine how you must have reacted then.
あの時はまさか日本がアメリカやイギリスみたいに黒船を手に入れるらで夢にも思わんかったけど。今は戦にしか使われちゃあせんけど。黒船の本来の役目は戦をすることやないけど。
How do you mention how much better your life would have been if you had become a ship captain?
お、嬉しいにゃ。覚えちょってくれたがかい。
Well, I never heard anyone with those kinds of aspirations before.
褒められちゅうがか珍しがられちゅうがかわからんけど。せっかくやき褒められちゅうってことにしちょくか。
A look of admiration stretched across Ryoma's face as he stared once more at the breathtaking row of ships.
このまま何もかも終わらせて。
If this is not our ending, I don't know what is. Whenever Ryoma mentioned the ocean, his eyes lit up like with a childlike sparkle. Somehow it always coaxed a smile out of me.
どういた？ニヤニヤして。
Nothing. The joy in your face is unmistakable. I suppose I'm just glad that I was able to accompany you here.
そういや、今日におった頃、こうやって二人で川を眺めたことがあったね。
That was when you had first regaled me with stories of your life in Tosa, about your older sister and the rest of your family.
おまんは俺の話をよう覚えちょってくれるね。
How could I forget? That day was one of the best I've ever had.
そうか。
Our conversation mellowed, overtaken by the rhythm of waves crashing beside us against the clock. Against the dock, not clock. Whoops. Neither one of us spoke for a moment, but there was nothing awkward or uncomfortable about our silence. Just us and the sea. Until...
やっぱりおまんと一緒におると居心地がいいにゃ。おまんが素直やきと思うちょったけんど、それだけやないみたいにゃ。これが合ういうことやろうか。
What are you talking about?
おまんと一緒におるといつでも素のままの自分でおれるいうことよ。
What? You think too highly of me.
買いかぶりやないき。こう見えても人を見る目には自信があるきね。俺にとって最高の女は俺を自由にさせてくれる女だよ。ほんまぜよ。
His sudden mention of what constituted an ideal woman got me to blush, though I tried to hide it. Was there a motive behind his decision to share this admission with me? Or was it simply an act of courtesy? Ryoma was several years my senior, a well-traveled adventurer who was far wiser than me. His compliments were likely just that, and I would be betraying myself to call something deeper from them. Please don't poke fun at me. Besides, the only reason the two of us are together is because we're working towards similar goals, right? From the moment the question escaped my lips, a bolt-like pain pierced through my heart. But there was a kernel of truth to it. For now, the two of us were engaged in a platonic arrangement, one born from mutual interests. As soon as Ryoma had finished dealing with Hakuoki, and I with my father, then a mental arrangement had served its purpose, thus meaning our ties would sever. There was nothing I could do to guarantee Ryoma sticking around once we had dealt with the targets of our ire, and he would be free to go on living his life.
なんな、今のままの関係やったら物足りんってことかい？
What? I didn't say that.
こんなに長い間一緒におるのに釣れないにゃ。俺がこんだけ熱心に口説いて落ちん女ら初めてぜよ。
Like I said. Still, I was stuck in limbo, unsure whether or not taking Ryoma's word at face value was worth it. How much of it was heartfelt, and how much of it was the same act he had used on red light courtesans? Perhaps I was too caught up in feeling vulnerable, or, as Ryoma had put it, wearing my heart on my sleeve. I'm very thankful for all the help you've given me so far. For now, this is the best that I could respond with.
So, okay.
His voice dropped to a low pitch, and he ran his fingers through his dark wavy hair as a brisk gust of wind gently swept his bangs in front of his face.
おまんは察しがええき。きっとわかっちゅうがやろうにゃ。今俺が抱えちゅう悩み。
Like from like from how you want to save Hakuoki? Find a way to save Hakuoki?
やっぱりおまんには何もかも見通しってことか。こりゃ一緒になった後は嘘をついてもすぐに気づかれてしまうろうにゃ。
Hold on. What do you mean by our relationship? The ocean dazzled with orange twinkles as the sun dipped into the horizon, which Ryoma and I observed quietly.
中岡の気持ちもわからんわけやないがよ。
Why is my arm itchy? Okay.
俺やち上司のやつらを恨んじょった時期があった。ゴーシの家に生まれただけでどういてあいつらから犬みたいな扱いを受けんといかんがなちにゃ。けんど今は西洋の国々が日本を狙う中。薩摩だの長州だの土佐だの上司だの郷士だの。こんまい反動士のつまらんしがらみにこだわっちゅう時期やないがよ。けんど恨みつらみ言うがなかなか捨てられんもんやね。
If there were more men like Ryoma leading the shogunate, or even the Satsuma Choshu domains, it convinced me to think that maybe our country wouldn't be suffering its current political disarray. Even Hakuoki, who was cut from a similar cloth to Ryoma, seemed more concerned with instigating a bloody revolution instead of ushering peace. The The ideological disconnect was fraying our country at the seams, but there was no solution in sight. As I became consumed with grave thoughts, all of a sudden things happened. All of a sudden, an arm clad in a snug-tailored sleeve had wrapped itself around my hips. Ryoma? The act itself startled me, and my eyes quickly darted at Ryoma. Well! Ryoma wore a stoic expression that froze me within his embrace. By now, he was developing a penchant for grabbing me out of the blue, but it was something that still took some getting used to. This time, however, my heart felt ready to burst out of my chest, far more than in any of his previous attempts.
おまん、この間いいよったろ。中岡らを止めた後、俺がどうするつもりなかった。その時は何も浮かばんかったがやけどな。ようやく一つ思いついたぜよ。
Ryoma coolly nudged my chin upward with his fingers, and our eyes locked. I couldn't turn away, nor had I wanted to, and I began to drift into the warm pools of his irises. What is it? I eked the question out, but felt silly for doing so. He saw through me just as easily as he claimed I did him. Then,
船を手に入れて海の外に出たい。おまんとならどこまでも行けそうやき。俺と一緒に来てくれるかい。
his candid way of detailing the future he had envisioned for us was so honest and intimate. After all of this was over, Ryoma grasped into the hope that the two of us would continue our whatever this was. I stood in disbelief. As my heart skipped a beat, I felt speechless.
答えてや。俺のことどう思うちゅう。このままなし崩しにする理由がもうできんことはないで。おまんの口から聞かせてもらいたいき。
Ryoma was perceptive, almost annoyingly so, but he exploited this trait of his through assertive negotiation. At this stage of our relationship, my feelings for him should have been clear as day. I want to go anywhere you go. Another day without your company is a day I can't bear to live. My intense longing to express my love for him had finally been relieved through my heart, though my heart could barely keep up. However, the manner in which Ryoma's eyes narrowed gave me the impression that my answer was inadequate.
俺のこと好きかい？
Color flooded my cheeks. By my inexperience with matters of the heart felt painfully exposed. The longer he stared into my eyes, the more I wished to do away with any further attempt at coyness. Yes, I do. More than you could begin to imagine. His eyes lit up as I muttered my response.
その一言が聞きたかったかよ。
Then he shut his eyes and pressed his face forward. What was he doing? My body was rigid as I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath, and soon our lips were locked. As we kissed, sparks tinkled throughout my body. All of my doubts seemed to vanish, as if Ryoma's heart was sending delicate signals directly to my own. Ryoma was voracious but gentle, barely containing himself as he guided my tongue in his warm mouth. At any second, I felt ready to melt into his arms. Or I could savor it, letting the taste of this tender moment burn into my mind forever. It was a sensation that was as frightening as it was addictive, but I craved it even before it was over. My heart, for the first time in ages, was satiated. Only with reluctance had I let Ryoma pull his lips away from mine. His smirk told me he took notice. What kind of man was I falling in love with? I was in a daze, spinning with all sorts of fantasies, despite the man of my dreams standing in front of me.
どういてあの時生き残ってしもうたがかずっとわからんかったけど、もしかしたらおまんとこうするためやったがかもしれんや。千鶴、これから先もずっと俺のそばにおってくれ。いや、もう話さんき。何があってもにゃ。
Okay. Ryoma's vow and the passionate kiss that preceded it turned the embers burning in my heart into roaring flames, and I nodded out of sheer joy. As we held on to one another, the sun had completely set, and we made our way back to my home.
遅かったじゃねえか。一体どこをほっつき歩いてたんだ。
Shiranui, I thought you were off fuck off nowhere. Why are you back? I need water. Shiranui?
まあ、てめえらのことだから、どうせ上野の出会い茶屋にでも出かけてしっぽりやってたんだろうが。
What? Adaya Chaya, a tea shop sometimes frequented as a romantic destination for men and women seeking an indelible rendezvous point. Oh.
何を言うがな。折れた女と相引きするがやったら、もっと場所を選ぶに決まっちゅうろうが。
Ryoma!
のろけやがって。やっぱり来るんじゃなかったぜ。
ここに何しに来たかな。俺らを冷やかしに来たがか。
ああ、昼間伝え忘れてたことがあってよ。お前ら将棋隊のことを知ってるか。
I'm scared now. Here we are, Shoki Company. I don't want to hear this, but I'm gonna hear it. The name sounds familiar, but I'm having trouble recalling who they could be.
確か慶喜さんが謹慎しちゅうことに不満を持っちゅう一橋家の家臣やら幕臣連中が作った集まりやったにゃ。
Hitotsubashi clan, a secondary branch of the Tokugawa family, of which there are 3. Before becoming shogun, Yoshinobu Tokugawa was a member of this house.
ご名答。そいつらが上野に集まって江戸にいる新政府軍相手に戦を仕掛けようとしてるんだと。
Is that true? Then...
土佐藩がそいつらを鎮圧してって横槍を入れてきたんだが、長州としちゃ土佐に手柄をくれてやる義理もねえんでな。その申し出を突っぱねたらしい。 何にせよ連中が名乗りを上げたってことは、お前の昔馴染みもまだ江戸に残ってるってことじゃねえか。あいつらとしても自分たちの手で戦をやらなきゃならねえ事情があるんだろうしな。
羅刹か。
多分な。
ありがとう。助かったぜよ。けど、なんでわざわざ知らせに来てくれたか？
高杉の遺言だからな。坂本は無謀な真似をするからたまには手を貸してやるってよ。
自分でも現実な人間とは思うちゃあせんけんど、さすがに高杉から無謀ち言われるがは心外ぜよ。
そんじゃ確かに伝えたぜ。せいぜい頑張りやがれ。
Shiranui shot us a slight grin before spinning on his heel and exiting from the house.
上のち言いよったにゃ。そこに中岡も姿を見せるかもしれん。近くを見張ることにするかい。
うん。
とはいえ、今日はもう遅いし、明日以降の方が良さそうやにゃ。せっかくやき、一緒に寝るかい。
What? No!
なんぜよ。俺のことが好きながやろ。それともまさか祝言をあげるまでお預けや言うがか。
I'm not saying anyone's holding out, but I'm not ready for this yet.
気が乗らんち言うがやったら無理強いする気もないけんど、あんまり待たされるとこっちも我慢できんようになるき、覚悟しとけよ。
I know. My instinct instantly screamed vindication. Ryoma was playing me in the palm of his hands. Just then, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached round 3. Ryoma?
いや、なんでもないき。ちと立ちくらみが。
Hell no, it ain't. He was guarded, trying to deflect from his obvious display of pain, but... Hello, round 3. The truth emerged as his hair faded into a shade of stark white. This must be bloodlust. And as we always say, we give him blood. Ryoma, drink my blood.
折れた女の血をすするち。それがどれば辛いことか。分かっちゃせんろ。
Uh-huh. I understand how you might feel, Ryoma, but still...
悪い。責めるような言い方をしてしまった。それを貸してくれ。傷なら俺がつけるき。
His expression warped, and I almost mistook his frantic gesture as an attempt to confiscate my kodachi. But I trusted him and handed him the small sword. Ryoma shakily slunk towards me, inching so closely I could make out the glisten on his damp skin. Then he loosened the collar of my kimono. Oh. In my heart, I knew that there were no malice behind his actions, that this was a method of soothing him. But staring into his eyes, those savage, brooding eyes, frightened me, and I could scarcely look back at him. Eventually, he drew the kodachi out from his sheath and placed its icy edge against my skin. And then, he made a small incision on my neck. His lips tickled me as they began to slurp. No, that's not all.
そうやな。
Drops of blood trickled from out of the sides of his lips as he timidly posed his question. The ceaseless pattern of Ryoma inhaling and exhaling against my skin as he drank my blood entranced me. Why do I keep hearing things? What is going on? What is going on, actually? Never mind. Although Ryoma had made me well aware of his dissatisfaction with drinking my blood, it dwarfed in comparison to the relief I had felt, knowing that his pain would momentarily subside. A few days had passed since Shiranui arrived to deliver us the news of the Shogi Company. At last, tensions bubbled to the surface, and the Shogi Company fortified Ueno against the marching Choshu. It came as no surprise, however, that the Choshu rinsed through the Shogi Company without issue. Later that night, Ryoma and I made the short trip to Kane Temple in Ueno, where the battle had recently taken place. I don't like the word Ueno again. Surely Ryoma's feelings was more than just a feeling. If things had panned differently for Ryoma, then he likely would be in the same position as they were, wandering in search of a fresh meal at the risk of insanity. Why, Father? How could you perform such an inhumane experiment on the men of Tosa? More water. Ugh, so much talking. Num num. I began to contemplate terrifying thoughts when I flinched, hearing footsteps patter towards us. They belonged to none other than... It's the best. It was Kaoru Naguma, whose gaze was pointed sharply towards us, hidden behind a thick, bushy shrub. Somehow she had sniffed out our location, which sent off an unsettling feeling in my stomach. Realizing that our charade was fooling no one, Ryoma shot up to his feet and stepped in the open. I apprehensively followed after him. Kaoru's loaded question went unappreciated as Ryoma clenched his teeth in anger.
言うぜよ。陽道やら上司連中に雇われ中身のくせ。
Yodo Yamauchi, the 15th generation lord of the Tosa domain. He was a fierce, oppressive ruler that encouraged shogunate rule within the Tosa domain.
おまんが俺を見張っちょったがもどうせ奴らの命令なのやろ。俺ら合子を薬の実験台にせえってそそのかしたがもあいつらやろ。違うかい。
それはお互い様ではないでしょうか。坂本様も表向きは土佐を脱藩し方々で活動しているふりをしながら山内公の密偵のお役目を引き受けてらしたじゃないですか。土佐藩を利用していたのはあなたも同じでしょ。雪村さん、今の話彼から聞かされていましたか？初耳ですよね。だって彼があなたと会っていたのも好意があるふりをしていたのもすべて土佐藩の命令があってのこと。あなたから新選組の情報を引き出すためだったんですから。彼は保身のためなら平気で嘘をついたりあなたを騙したりできる人なんです。こんな人は信用に値しません。私と共にお父様のところへ行きましょう。待ちわびてらっしゃいますよ。
I said he had his reasons. It would have been a lie for me to say that Kaoru's revelation hadn't stunned me, but I'm sure Ryoma had his reasons for choosing to accept those orders. I mean, the Shinsengumi had initially instructed me to grow closer with Ryoma to extract information. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, the Shinsengumi had initially instructed me to grow close with Ryoma to extract information too.
事情があれば騙されても構わないというのですか？こんな人には近づかない方がいいと以前忠告して差し上げたはずですけど。
Well, that's my decision to make, not yours.
ありがとう、千鶴。お前やったらそう言うてくれると思うちょったぜよ。
千鶴、お前はこの俺の忠告よりもこんな男の言葉を信じるっていうのか？
Wait, what? Kaoru's voice suddenly changed, shifting from a girlish squeak to a seething masculine tenor. For a moment, I almost thought that I was speaking to a different person.
化けの皮が剥がれたかい。そろそろ下手くそな芝居はしまいにしたらどうぜよ。
うるさい、黙れ。貴様、千鶴に俺の妹に一体何を吹き込んだんだ？
Little sister? My jaw dropped. What in the world was happening? You know what? I kind of like this. I like that this reveal is this late. Kaoru, however, was quick to react as Ryoma and I stood in disbelief. She unsheathed a kodachi from out of her kimono and hurled it towards Ryoma. Ryoma! I strained my voice, yelling to grab his attention.
You.
Ryoma deftly sidestepped out of the sword's path and drew his pistol from its holster. He wrapped his slender fingers around its trigger, then...
その着物邪魔やろ。そろそろ本性を見せたらどうぜよ。
いい気になるなよ、坂 お前を今まで見逃してやってたのは中岡に言われてたから。ただそれだけの理由なんだからな。だが俺をここまで愚弄するやつに手加減してやる義理もない。何より妹がお前みたいなゲスの口車に乗せられてるなんて静が走るからな。
All of a sudden, Kaoru ripped the kimono off of his body with a menacing grin stretched over her face. Its finely woven sakura pattern fluttered in the air. Then,
ここからは手加減なしでやってやるよ、坂本龍馬。光栄に思えよ。雪村家の棟梁と一対一で戦える人間なんてお前が最初で最後だろうから。
the head of the Yukimura clan? And judging from the attire, was Kaoru a man?
本当は行動おじさんともう一度再会するときに伝えるつもりだったけど、今明かしておかないとその詐欺師に騙されたままだろうからな。教えてやるよ。俺は雪村家棟梁の息子、お前の双子の兄なんだ。これがその証拠だよ。
Grasping Kaoru's palm with a kodachi, nearly identical to my own in shape, size, and etchings. Prior to this, Sen had said that I was the sole survivor of my clan, but why? If you're actually my brother, then why have you been separated from me all these years?
お前を守るためだったんだよ、千鶴。
え？
俺たちの生まれ故郷、雪村の里が人間たちに滅ぼされた時、土佐の子に南雲一族から頼りがあったんだ。もし行く場所がないのなら我々のもとに来ないかってね。しかもその手紙は千鶴、お前を名指ししてた。
Me?
向こうの意図はすぐに分かったよ。南雲家のやつらはお前を子を産ませるためだけに利用するつもりなんだろうって。だから俺はお前を守るため身代わりとして南雲家に行ったんだ。そこで何があったのかはお前は知らない方がいいだろうけど。
From what Kaoru had been describing, Kaoru, no, my brother, was traumatized by the horrific treatment at the Naguma clan's hand.
もしあの時お前の身代わりにならなければ、俺だってお前みたいに江戸で平和に暮らしてたかもしれないんだ。別に責めてるわけじゃないんだよ。ただ俺がどれだけお前を愛してるか、それを分かってほしいんだ。
I need to write shit down. Okay, so Kaoru, I got some questions on. Holy crap. I feel they've changed Kaoru. I'll have to see in the original version of the game because I feel Kaoru's just different. I received a stable upbringing under the patient care of father. There was unspeakable evils witnessed by my brother which I could never understand. All this time, he suffered unbeknownst to me.
おいおまん、 大概にしちょけよ。黙って聞きよって。好き勝手なことを言うてからに、こいつの身代わりになったよ。こいつ自身がおまんにそう頼んだとでも言うがか。
なんだと。
モテんやつば言うもんよ。俺はこればのことをしてやった、ああしてやった、こうしてやったちゅう恩着せがましゅうににゃ。そんな側は自分が決めたことを自分自身で引き受ける覚悟がなかっただけじゃいか。
俺たちのことを何も知らないくせに知った風なことをほざくな。
Kaoru, incensed by Ryoma's blunt provocations, attempted to slash at his foe out of rage, but without flinching, Ryoma blocked the incoming blade with the barrel of his pistol. As the two were locked in a tense stance, Ryoma grabbed a hold of Kaoru's arm and pulled him back. Before he could adjust his footing, however, a nearby soldier barked at us.
なぜとも今人目に触れさせるのはまずい。ここは預けてやるよ。運が良かったな、坂本。それから千鶴、白川にある俺たちの生まれ故郷雪村の里で待ってるから、行動おじさんも一緒にね。
Wait, Shirakawa. Shirakawa Go. Hold on. Is that what I'm thinking of? Shirakawa Go. I am thinking of Shirakawa Go. Oh God. Shirakawa is obviously a district. And Shirakawa Go is a village that's in the mountains that also inspired the village of Hinamizawa in Higurashi. So, oh my god. How am I connecting these two franchises by one damn district?
お前はきっと来てくれるって信じてるよ。
The soldier fired his rifle into the darkness to startle us. However, the bullet ripped through the darkness, hitting the blank wall as Kaoru vanished.
ここに長居するがまずい。逃げるぞ、千鶴。
I had no chance to react as Ryoma clutched my wrist and practically dragged me away. We spent a few moments in the shadows to recollect ourselves, taking a quick peek inside Kane Temple to survey the damage before heading back home. What we discovered was a hellish sight, which registered just after the foul stench stung our noses. Corpses mutilated beyond recognition, whose flesh had been chewed and mauled without remorse, if not reduced to a grisly pile of mangled chunks. Seeing as the Imperial Army was careful to hide any evidence of their Fury affiliates, I could tell that even more corpses had been recently disposed elsewhere.
今日ばっかりはさすがに寿命が10年は縮んだぜよ。いや、よう考えたら俺もう死んじゃったがよ。死んじゅう上にさらに寿命が縮むいうがも妙な話やけんど。
Ryoma offered bits of playful banter, perhaps to a sausage? My mind from the repugnant scene, but my whole body continued to shiver.
千鶴、大丈夫かい？震えゆうやいか。
I'm fine. There was no hiding the trauma on my face, though.
そんなに辛かったかいあいつから聞かされたことが
No, that's not it. I believe that my brother has undergone far more than I could comprehend. For years I lived in blissful ignorance of my true lineage as a demon, but learning of Kyoto's existence, his anguish and his isolation crushed me. It felt cruel to imagine that I was given a privileged life while he suffered alone. I felt so guilty. Months of contemplating the burden of my sins in regard to father's actions paled in comparison to this.
カオルチ言うたかあの男はクズやねん
Filth? Why?
自分が身代わりになったち言うたらおまんが動揺すると思うて事情を明かしたがやろあいつが勝手にやったことやに相手に罪の意識を持たせようとするクズ以外の何者でもないやいか
That's not true. I mean, if I were in my brother's position, then there's a chance that I could have. If I were made to endure the harsh, barren life under the strict rule of the Nagumo clan, well, perhaps Kyoto could have become a different person and made a difference for her people. I couldn't guarantee that I wouldn't become as bitter as he was today, so it was beyond me to judge him.
おまんはあいつとは違うおまんがカオルと同じ立場に置かれたちあいつみたいにはならんき俺が保証しちゃる
Ryoma kept his eyes locked on me, choosing each delicate word with purpose. My heart felt so warm. Do you really think so? I don't need to feel responsible for this, even though maybe I could have done something.
ないき何があっても前に言うだろ先祖が負うた罪を子孫が負うらてバカバカしいことやき
Ryoma's words of assurance gradually restored my confidence and brought a thin smile to my face. It was one of his best traits. I adored the way he spoke to me, his inspiring allure. Even during the time in which the shogunate was still an institution in Edo, he foresaw all of his strife. Regardless of whatever anyone had told him about me. Regardless of whatever anyone had told me about him, or how they believed the future would unfold. The words came second to Ryoma's, who continued to put his faith in what he believed was best for all.
まだ不安かい
Ryoma narrowed his eyes in a solemn gaze, making it impossible to tell him anything other than the truth. Unlike Ryoma, whose bravado often left him no room to experience feelings of doubt, I was easily taken by feelings of guilt. Perhaps, I wondered, it would have been in everyone's best interest had I been the one to become a Nagumo. What worth did I have to offer that justify the sacrifice he made on my behalf? Ryoma's eyes shifted slowly around my face, scanning me in silence. Suddenly, he walked over to a nearby candle and gently blew out the flame flickering on the wick. More water! Ryoma? I was puzzled and I called out to him.
千鶴、こっちへ来いや。
Hmm? He and I were already centimeters apart. How much closer could it get to him?
来いて。
The second time around, he urged me more assertively, going as far as to grab my hand to draw me in. Only centimeters separated our faces, so the tickle of his fresh breath grazed my skin coolly. Because the room was enveloped in darkness, however, I had no way of telling what kind of expression he was wearing. All I could tell was that his gaze had been pointed towards me. We may have kissed before, but the intimacy we were sharing in this tender moment was somehow different, and my heart began to race.
信じれんで不安やったら何度でも言うちゃるけど、今までもこれからも罪の意識に縛られる必要はないけど。
Oh shit. Alright, sorry, there was a phone call! We're back.
おまんは幸せになるべきぜよ。俺の隣で。
As Roma whispered softly into my ear, it was as if I was caught in a spell. I couldn't move a muscle. All of the tendrils wrapped around my aching heart were starting to loosen one by one. As I stared back into the eyes of the man I loved, I responded, fully giving into his entrancing advice. Do I deserve to feel happy? I've been able to live in ignorance for years. Because of me, there's a chance that my twin was doomed to a fate he'd never needed to experience.
そうやないち言うのが。もうしゃべる。
After placing his index fingers on my lips, he soon followed with a touch of his plump lips. At first, it was a mere peck. Then I felt his lower lip scoop mine, pulling me in closer as he stroked my cheek with his coarse hand. His tongue was like magic, expelling each of my anxious thoughts with soft, sweet flicks. To be fair, it could also be licks, but it says flicks. It became hard to form thoughts as I lost myself.
なんちゃ言わんでえき。考えんでえい。なんちゃ考えれんようにしちゃるき。俺のことだけ見ちょけ。
I nodded, offering him the only gesture I could give while keeping up with the pace of his eager lips. The feelings of guilt plaguing me were releasing their hold of me. Nothing mattered as much as Ryoma did to me. He nibbled playfully on my lower lip. Then my head swirled in ecstasy as Ryoma lowered me onto the futon from his strong arms. Leave it to imagination what happened next. How much time passed afterwards was unclear to me. As I woke, my eyelids took their time adjusting to the light. I realized I was still trapped in the haze. As I glanced at the empty spot beside me on the futon, I realized Ryoma was absent and shot up from panic. Did he go off somewhere? I feared that he had left me to find Nakaoka. I began huffing from anxiety and left the room.
お？千鶴。夜明けまでにはまだ間があるけんど。目が覚めてしもうたかい。
Oh, there you are. When I awoke, I couldn't find you, so I became worried that you might have left.
ああ、すまん。俺としたことが、こんな夜に女を一人にしてしもうたら、不安があるがも当たり前や。
Hey, that's not what I said! Even in his groggy state, Ryoma found a chance to sneak a jab in about our previous night together. My cheeks started to flare and I couldn't look at him in the eye. What were you doing in here? Were you thinking about something?
まあ、いろいろ思い出してしもうて。
Do you mean in regards to what Kaoru told us? In all honesty, I had still been reeling from everything he said. My entire life had been called into question, exposing the frail lies that once held all of it together. Ryoma, Kaoru mentioned something about you acting as a spy on behalf of the Tosa domain.
ああ、その通りよ。 陽動土佐の殿様やら上司どもの命令を聞くつもりらってなかったがやけんど、脱藩した後親類縁者を人質に取られてしもうて逆らえんかった。
Well, shit.
あいつが言いよった通り、おまんに近づいた目的ももともとは新選組の内情を探るためやったがよ。軽蔑したかい？
I mean, you were doing it to save your family, so I can't really blame you. No. My response was unchanged from what I had told Kaoru. No matter what intentions he may have had, I knew that he would never lie to me maliciously. That, at least, I could count on. So was Nakaoka under the same predicament as you?
ああ、あいつが仲間のゴーシュラーを羅刹へと変えたがも上司どもに復讐するためやったがやろうにゃ。
It was a tragedy, one that yielded no real winners. In a time when our country had needed its people to unify against mounting external pressures, class exploitations dominated our social hierarchies, and it was impossible to move forward while others choose to focus on conflicts from generations ago. Is your family safe in Tosa?
それに関したら心配はいらんと踏んじゅ。幕府はのうなっちゅうし、陽動や上司連中には薩長とのつながりらでないき。今頃は上を下への大騒ぎになっちゅうやろ。中岡もあの様子やったら土佐の意向は無視して好き勝手に動きゆうがやろ。
I know, but of all the terrible happenings going on, it brought me some sense of relief to hear that Ryoma's family was under no immediate danger.
すまんにゃ。愚痴みたいな話を聞かせてしもうて。まさか10以上も年下の娘にこんな打ち明け話をすることになるなんて思わんかったぜよ。
Oh! Don't say it like that. I always want to be there for you when you need me. I don't want to be the only one who asks for help. Let me be a shoulder for you too, Ryoma. Ryoma stretched his smile almost as wide as the arm he was wrapping around my shoulders. Before I knew it, I was covered by his loving arms.
ありがとう、千鶴。俺は本当にええ女を捕まえたぜよ。
Ryoma. I sighed. In spite of his corny humor, or his tendency to take things too far, there were genuine expressions of love. Next chapter time! Chapter 4. Oh! July 1868. Shirakawa Castle, located in Aizu, had finally been surrendered over to the Imperial Army. Something peculiar came to my attention, though. There was a hint of discord amongst all of the Imperial soldiers, as if some would boisterously take part in the pillaging and others were silent. On one such occasion, Ryoma and I had been walking on the path leading to Shirakawa.
千鶴、大丈夫かい？そろそろ休憩した方がええろ。
No, I'm fine.
そうか。疲れたらいつでもいいよ。いざやったら貸しちゃるき。
Thank you. All of the strenuous walking had clearly been exhausting me, but more than anything, I wished for the pounding headache in my feet to disappear. Oh, pounding ache in my feet to disappear. Mech.
にしても、地図も持っちゃせんのに、よう迷わんと歩けるもんよ。
Ryoma was right. The path to Yukimura village was perilous, a maze of winding roads that branched off in several directions. We somehow avoided becoming lost, however, as a strange intuition guided me through the dense forests. It was as if a voice were summoning me from off in the distance, beckoning me to my place of origin. After stepping through a decade's worth of tall, overgrown grass, we finally arrived. As I laid my eyes on the village's charred ruins, goosebumps emerged along my forearm. Nostalgia began to twist my sentimental heart. There was something to the familiar scent of fresh air, or the crinkle of grass underneath my slipper.
来てくれたんだね、千鶴。待ってたよ。
As I turned around, there stood Kyoto! Father!
お前と再会できたのは喜ばしいことだけど、坂本を連れてきたってことは、俺たちに協力するつもりはないってことでいいのかな。
そう解釈してもろうてもかまんけんど、一応聞いちょくか。中岡は一体どこにおるがぜよ。姿が見当たらんけんど。
あれ、まだ気づいてないのか。新政府軍が落とした白川城の様子がおかしいって噂が流れてるだろう。
Don't tell me Nakaoka and his men are...
そう、俺たちのために白川城で羅刹の実験を続けてくれてるんだ。中岡や土佐の豪士たちのおかげで落ち水の研究はだいぶ進んだよ。これからは土佐の方角に足を向けて寝られないな。
Well, this is a turn. It was sickening to listen to Kyoto express sadistic joy over his approval of the Tosa's experiments. His lips warped into a cruel smirk, and it was frighteningly clear that he showed no remorse for sacrificing innocent Tosa lives for his own gain.
おまんらの目的は一体何ぜよ。どういてこいつをここへ呼び出した。
Things! Disturbing things! If anything we learned from Cosmos, rude is to say, anyway. Ugh.
人間たちの手によって滅ぼされた雪村一族を再興するのです。
最高やと。
お前はもう知ってるんだろう。俺たちの一族が人間に滅ぼされたことを。
Well, Sen had mentioned the story to me once before. The Yukimura clan were practitioners of pacifism. As such, humans saw an opportunity to ravage and exploit my people, and they took it.
俺は里が火に巻かれる中、お前の手を引いて逃げたことを今でも覚えてる。この里に眠る鬼たちの無念の声がお前には聞こえないのか。自分だけ幸せに生きることができればそれでいいっていうのか、千鶴。
I told him I told him, you don't understand. If Kaoru were delivering his scathing remarks before Ryoma had entered my life, then I would have likely buckled in front of him. However, someone I love dearly once told me that I have no reason to feel guilt over sins I didn't commit. He said that even if my clan had been destroyed, I can't stop myself from moving forward with my life. I deserve happiness too.
Chizuru.
I think the same could be applied to you and father as well, right? Just because our village was destroyed, we needed to submit to hatred.
うるさい、黙れよ。好き勝手なことを抜かしやがって。要するにお前はそこにいるゲスな男を選んだってそう言いたいんだろ。まあいいさ。そいつを目の前で殺してやれば愚かな妹もさすがに目を覚ますだろうし。
Just then, Kaoru reached into his pocket. It was... No! Kaoru put a small glass vial to his lips. He hastily downed its contents, then threw the vial, and then... Right as the glass shattered against the ground, his hair began to turn white.
さてと、覚悟はいいか、坂本。可愛い妹をたぶらかしてくれたお礼をさせてもらうよ。
Then, Kaoru kicked at the ground, charging towards Ryoma to close distance between them. He swung forward, light emanating from his kodachi. Ryoma had missed the path of the blade by a matter of centimeters, but...
今のは避けやすいようにしてやったんだぞ。分かってるよな。
Kaoru continued inflicting a flurry of slashes as Ryoma defended himself with frantic parries. And then... Ryoma took aim at Kaoru and pulled the trigger.
この間合いで刀と銃のどっちが有利だと思ってるんだ。
Kaoru knocked Ryoma back with his kodachi's hilt, and as Ryoma tried to readjust his footing...
遅いんだよ。
A well-timed slash brought Ryoma to his knees, and Kaoru grabbed a tuft of his hair in glee.
今撃ってれば俺を殺せたのに。一瞬ためらっただろう。どうしてだ。もしかして好きな女と同じ顔してるから殺せなかったってところか。甘いんだな、お前は。中岡や他の尊上老師に煙たがられてた理由がよくわかるよ。やっぱりお前はあの時大宮で死んでるのが妥当だったのかもしれないな。
No, at this rate... Kaoru, let go of Ryoma! I instinctively drew out my kodachi and lunged forward.
アホ、千鶴、来るな。
I ignored Ryoma's plea, pointing the tip of my blade at Kaoru as I sprinted forward, but... A pistol rattled off somewhere in the distance. Where did that gunshot come from? And who was its target? As Kaoru clutched his breast, Blood began to stain his palm, and he slammed to the ground with a thud.
やれやれ。予想はしてたが、とんだ甘ちゃんだな。殺意があるかねえかってのは、見るやつが見ればすぐに分かっちまうんだぜ。
知らない。
来てくれたがか。
まがいものになっちまった同族を見過ごすわけにはいかねえんでな。坂本のやつが惚れた女の兄貴を殺せるほど冷徹だとも思えなかったしよ。
Shiranui lowered his gaze at Kaoru, who was lying in a shallow pool of his own blood.
千鶴、そこにいるのか。
Kaoru mustered enough strength to call out to me, though his voice sounded hoarse and feverish.
危ないよ。ここにいると火に巻かれる。
His eyes were glassy, and that he wasn't looking me in the eye gave me the impression that he was gone. From what it looked like, he was floating somewhere between reality and a dream, stuck in the memory of our village being set ablaze, of its last scorching moments on this earth.
言われてるんだ。男鬼なんだから女鬼を守ってやれって。
千鶴、手を握っちゃれ。
At Ryoma's behest, I dropped to my knees and took Kaoru's hand into mine. They were small and icy to the touch. His life was leaving him, and I tried to steel myself instead of panicking as I looked into his eyes. Nessa. Our paths may have diverged by no fault of our own at the end of our village's destruction, but Kaoru was only a child too when all of it happened. I couldn't comprehend the strength he had in going to the Nagama clan, all to protect me. To protect me. It was a kindness for which I could never repay him.
千鶴、どうした？泣いてるのか？
These aren't tears of sadness. I wanted to thank you. Thank you for protecting me. And I want to apologize for forgetting you. Kaoru responded with a thin smile, and he clutched my hand with what little strength remained in him. In his final moments, it felt as though the peace he had been so desperately searching for had come.
いいんだよ。そんなこと。兄さんはお前さえ無事なら。少し眠ってもいいかな。今日は何かすごく疲れてるんだ。
Of course. Oyasumi, Nessa. Then his eyelids slammed shut. His clasps were on my hand loosened before his hand dropped limp to the ground. When it finally registered to me that he was gone, hot tears started streaming down my cheeks. My twin brother. I wondered if we would have been friends, had things turned out differently for the two of us. The following day, we dug a makeshift grave on a knoll overlooking the entire village ruins.
そういや、コードのジジイはどこへ行きやがったんだ？姿が見当たらなかったが。
Thank you, Shiranui, for bringing up the fact. Where the fuck did Kodo go? He was there, and then he wasn't.
そう言うたらいつの間にか姿を消しちゃったにゃ。
Kyoto mentions something about Nakaoka being at Shirakawa Castle. Something tells me that he's there too.
やろうにゃ。今度こそあいつらと決着をつけんといかんき。
Ryoma's eyes were fierce, glimmering with dedication as he dusted the dirt from his hands. Once more, Shiranui bid us farewell, and Ryoma and I made it off for Shirakawa Castle. Shiranui, you can just come with us. You know that, buddy. During our travels, we overheard rumors. Allegedly, Shogunate forces were unable to lay siege on the castle due to its intense fortifications.
さて、どうやって入り込んだもんやろうか。中岡も俺らが来ることは想定しちゅうはずやし。
We were scouting the outside perimeter when...
おい貴様ら、こんなところで何をしている？
マジ千鶴、隠れるぜよ。
As Ryoma got low to the ground in order to pounce behind a row of bushes.
動くな！撃たれたいのか？
くそ、耳ざといや。さて、どういったもんか。
一体何の騒ぎだ？敵兵か？
Wait. That voice! Saito-san! Is that you? It's me, Yukimura!
雪村だと？生きていたのか？
Oh, we're saved.
どっかで見た顔やと思うたら。おまん、こいつと初めて会うた時、一緒におったやつか。
坂本龍馬。あんたも会津に来ていたのか？
Saito turned his gaze over towards the Aizu rifleman, staring at him dubiously before ordering him to stand down.
この者たちは我々新選組が預かる。あんたたちは引き続き見回りを続けてくれ。
はい、わかりました。
Saito-san said nothing more as he began walking away. Ryoma and I followed close behind, and eventually we arrived in the Shinsegumi's base camp.
坂本、雪村、お前ら生きてたのか。
He's so surprised! Bitch! I swear! Hijikata! I apologize for not having sent any correspondence for some time. Okay, that explains that. Alright, I understand now that I thought you were a dead thing, especially after Edo falling.
いや、無事で何よりだ。江戸で新政府軍にとっ捕まったんじゃねえかと思ってたからな。しかし、なんでわざわざ会津に来たんだ？今この国がどういう状況なのかは分かってるんだろう。
ああ、薩長の大軍に攻め込まれいう最中ながやろ。さっさと降参しちょったら傷もあそうて済むに。
Ryoma!
皆が皆てめえみてえに商人根性で動いてるわけじゃねえんだよ。俺たちだって今さら幕府が薩長から政権をもぎ取れるなんて思っちゃいねえ。ただ今になって会津を見捨てるのは俺たちが考える武士のあり方にそぐわねえ。だから戦うだけだ。
Hearing Hijikata's explanation brought a heavy sigh from Ryoma-san's lips.
商人根性で動きゆうがは否定せんけんど、おまんらの考えが全く理解できんわけやないき。
なんだと？
俺の親友の高杉ちやつがおるがやけんど、そいつはかなりの大バカ野郎でにゃ。その男が長州の反論をひっくり返すため鉱山寺で兵を挙げた時、集まったがは たったの80人かそこらやったそうぜよ。俺みたいに賢く立ち回るやつだけが世の中を動かしていくわけやないがよ。
Although Hijikata-san was unenthused by Ryoma's attempted levity was one of the most genuine compliments I have ever heard him say.
バカ呼ばわりされた挙句長州老子を引き合いに出されると褒められてる気がしねえな。
Nah! Hijikata-san responded with a curt tone, but all of the tension in the circle soon eased, and it seemed as though the two found mutual ground. They gazed into each other's eyes solemnly, mustering enough respect to continue their conversation calmly.
で、今日は一体何の用なんだ。わざわざここに来たってことは何か知らせていることがあるんだ。
ああ、羅刹に関することで相談したいことがあるがやけんど、三男やったが新選組の羅刹隊を束ねちょったあいつを呼んできてくれや。
わかった。ちょっと待ってろ。
Hijikata-san sent for a messenger, who soon returned to us with both Sanan-san and Heisuke. With his audience at full attention, Ryoma began recounting all of the goings-ons inside the castle.
なるほど。話はよくわかりました。
そんなことになってやがったのか。通りで白川城の様子がつかめねえはずだ。
土方さん、俺たちを白川城へ行かせてくれ。
Heisuke!
この二人だけを行かせたら死んじまうのは目に見えてるだろ。早いうちに新政府軍側の羅刹を片付けておかねえと、こっちの犠牲がどんどん増えちまうだろうし、俺たちが今まで生きてきたのはこのためだと思うんだ。だよな、三男さん。
言おうとしていたことを先に言われてしまいましたね。我々が今後タイにとどまってもこの戦の行く末は変わらないでしょう。ならばせめて羅刹や落ち水をこの世から消し去ることが我々が果たすべき使命だと考えますが。
A look of pride appeared on Sana-san's face before he pointed his glance over towards Hijikata-san. However, his commander was stone-faced. Perhaps the notion of bidding farewell to Sanan-san and Heisuke, potentially for the last time, got to him. Hijikata-san pursed his lips before finally muttering aloud.
わかった。白川城の羅刹たちを全滅させてきてくれ。
承知しました。
任せてくれよ。この東堂平介、最後の役目はきちんと果たしてみせるからな。
結構は羅刹どもが寝てしもうた後の方がええろ。
では明日の早朝にしましょう。善は急げと言いますし。
お前ら日の光は平気ながかい。新選組の羅刹は夜しか動けんって聞いちょったけど。
気力で補います。もう体力を温存する必要もありませんしね。
It became clear that both Sanan-san and Heisuke bore no apprehensions about giving their lives on this harrowing mission.
千鶴、今のうちに少し休んできたらどうだ。ここまでずっと歩き通しだったんだろ。
そうしや。新選組の奴らもきっとおまんに会いたがっちゅうろ。
Then I will see you later. Oh man. I sauntered over to their living quarters and dozed off into a pleasant nap. But then...
あれ、雪村先輩。 ずいぶん早いですね。
Thinking about tomorrow makes resting a little difficult. I haven't seen Ryoma around. Do you happen to know where he might have gone?
考え事があると言って先ほど陣を出て行きましたけど。
Really? Which way did he go?
向こうの方角です。俺も一緒に行きましょうか。
I'm fine on my own. I'll be right back, so wait here. Soma bowed his head politely, and I walked briskly down the rugged trail under a dusky sky. After walking for a little while, I hear frogs. Ryoma!
お、千鶴。てっきりまだねえ言うと思うたに。意外と早起きやね。
I was feeling somewhat anxious, so I came searching for you.
まさか。おまんを置き去りにして一人で中岡のところへ行くとでも思うたかい？いくらなんでもこの後に及んでそんな真似はせんき。
I know. Jumping to conclusions is never good, but...
俺と一緒やないと寂しいちいうことかい？なんなん？違うがかい？
Well, no. His swagger often vexed me because I was both smitten and taken back with his self-assuredness. Just then... And it's time for our final and fourth round. Ryoma rested his arm against a tree trunk, beginning to huff in pained breaths. Ryoma? Was this bloodlust? Say it with me for the final time. Give him blood. Here, Ryoma. Take my blood. Without another word, I clutched my kodachi and slid the blade against my neck. My hands grew unsteady as the blood began to trickle. Ryoma, yours for the taking. Upon my urging, he slunk closer to me. The faint tickle of his shallow breasts against my neck felt familiar to me now, almost enjoyable. Really, it's okay. Anything to ease your pain, Ryoma.
これ以上の殺し文句はないき。おまんみたいな女、初めてぜよ。
With each sip Ryoma took, his breathing stabilized, and I could sense his body relaxing behind me. The thrill of being used enticed me. Knowing that I could satiate Ryoma's devilish impulses was a power to which I was growing addicted. I awoke moments before the crack of dawn, far before the sun had yet to eke through the horizon. My eyelids still drooped as our foursome reached Shirakawa Castle's outskirts.
さて、どんな罠が待ち受けているかは分かりませんが、行くとしましょうか。
ああ、いつでも構んぜよ。千鶴、俺の背中から絶対に離れたらいかんぜよ。
I know.
そんじゃ行くとするか。
Just when we nodded at one another, The creak of the castle gate startled each of us.
なんだ、歓迎してくれてるってことか。
ま、俺らがここに来ちゅうってことは察しがついちゅうろ。くれぐれも油断したらいかんぜよ。ここから先は人の世界の常識はきっと通用せんき。
お前に言われなくても分かってるよ。しかし随分静かだな。この城には新政府軍側の羅刹どもが集められてるはずなのに。
Ah. A sense of dread began to fester inside of my stomach. The air was heavy, making our skydiving mission feel more like a trudge through an irrigorous fog. More bothersome, however, was the foul, rusty odor of blood, which worsened in stink the more I began to fixate on how the humid air stuck to my skin. Just then,
気づきましたか、坂本君。
そりゃあにゃ。伊達に一回信じるわけやないき。
just when Ryoma said that, he instinctively grabbed a hold of my waist and yanked me away from the sliding door. We were stopped dead in our tracks when katana blades poked through sliding doors in the hallway, ripping the paper door to shreds. They stabbed and stabbed, eager to break free.
おいでなすったか。スマの影からこそこそ狙うなんて耳っちいんだよ。
Heisuke unsheathed his own sword and swatted at the incoming blades, tearing the doors to pieces. Then Heisuke raised his knee and kicked the door. Waiting behind it was a bevy of furies, licking their lips in glee like wolves encircling their prey. And behind them was...
来たのだね、千鶴。待ちわびていたよ。
Father! As my eyes became locked with Father's, an uncontrollable rage consumed me. Were you continuing your furry experiments here? You used Ryoma and his comrades, the warriors of Tosa, like nothing more than test subjects.
彼らが望んだことだよ。260年もの間、彼らを虐げ続けてきた上司や徳川幕府。彼らへの復讐が叶うのならば、化け物になっても構わぬと、そう言っていたのでね。
Listening to Father's stoic delivery made my blood boil, and I reached to unsheath my kodachi. But just then...
坂本君、雪村君を連れて先に羅刹たちの親玉のもとへ向かってください。
ケンド、
我々も光道さんには借りがありますし、ここで全員が足止めを食うのは得策ではありません。
As always, Sun is looking for a fight, and why am I keep getting messages? What the fuck is going on? I don't know. I'll leave it there.
それに私たちに残された時間はもう少ない。
Ryoma furrowed his brow, refusing at first to yield Sun's command, until finally...
ケンド、必ず追いついてきてくれよ。お前らが死んでしまうたら、こいつがどれば悲しむかわからんき。惚れた女の涙なんて見とうないき。
それはこっちのセリフだ。お前こそ俺たちより先に殺されちまうんじゃねえぞ。
さあ千鶴、行くぜよ。
In my heart, I had wanted to make Father keenly aware of the contempt I had towards him, but it was a selfish decision, as neither Heisuke nor Sanam-san would have wanted me to distract them. Then, Sanam-san, Heisuke, please be safe. I have faith that we'll all be together again real soon.
心配には及びませんよ。伊達に新選組総長を名乗っていたわけではありませんから。
Sanam-san smiled wearily and bowed his head slightly. Without looking over our shoulders, Sakamoto and I sprinted towards the large staircase. By the time we had reached the top, I was nearly out of breath. Lo and behold, Nakooka had been waiting.
てっきり下の階にいた羅刹どもに食い殺されたと思っていたが、死ぬか生きるかの瀬戸際に置かれて、ようやく危機感が芽生えたというところか。今さら遅すぎるが。
中岡、もうこんなことはやめにせんかい。この戦が終わった後、日本を動かしていくことになるが、薩摩と長州ぜよ。どうあがいても土佐の上がり目はないき。数十人の羅刹で戦局をほんの少し動かすことはできても、大きな流れを変えることはできんがよ。まだ人間やった頃、散々思い知らされたことやいか。
うるさい、黙れ！我々がこのまま歴史の流れに埋もれてしまうことになれば、無念のまま亡くなった竹地先生は、土佐勤王党の仲間はどうなる？
Nakooka lashed out at Ryoma, drawing his katana from the sheath on his hip. His aura glowed with anonymity as he turned into a fury. Ryoma and Nakooka stood opposite one another. Their friendship had been tested by war, blackmail, manipulation, and even death. At this point, attempting to use reason felt like a hollow gesture. Please, don't get hurt. Save Nakooka and the rest of your fellow Tosamen. They all need you now more than ever.
ああ、分かっちゅうき。俺があの世に行く前につけんといかんけじめやき。
I slowly pressed my back against the wall, hoping not to stray within range of their duel. Eventually, Nakooka moved first, leaping from the ground. The earth shook as he kicked upward, pointing his sword's tip towards Ryoma with his weight behind it. By the skin of his teeth, Ryoma had managed to evade being struck and fired his pistol. The bullet grazed Nakooka's shoulder, splattering a ribbon of blood into the wallpaper behind him. Nakooka retaliated with a sequence of slashes, swinging his blade with a wonton sloppy technique. Ryoma, however, blocked each move with ease. Nakooka sneered, hiding his fatigue by the end of it. With a well-timed hit in the gut, Nakooka caught Ryoma off guard before stabbing the sword into his shoulder. Somehow Ryoma managed to fire off his pistol. The hall's narrowest shape gave Nakooka the weapon advantage over Ryoma's long-range pistol, but Even so, Nakoka was incredibly vulnerable to even the slightest touch of silver, giving Ryoma an edge. Halting Nakaoka's ability to regenerate his own wounds was enough to push the battle in favor of Ryoma, and Nakaoka let out a chilling scream. Nakaoka's black coat was becoming drenched in blood, dripping into a thick puddle beneath him. That he was still able to stand was a testament of his strength, if not his stubbornness.
このアホが今さら本気ら出してから人間やった頃おまんがこればの覚悟を持っちょったらまた違うた結末もあったかもしれんに。
どうやろうか。多分変わらんかったと思うけんど、人間一人ができることらで多分限られちゅうちや。
Nakaoka desperately gripped his katana. It was clutched tightly in his hand, but his fire was fading as the massive loss of blood began to take its toll. His knee bucked before he toppled to the ground. Ryoma stooped down and held his dying friend tightly in his arms.
知っちゃったがよ。とうの昔に今さらどればあがいたところで土佐が薩長と並び立つことらできんということはにゃ。
There was a derisive smile on Nakaoka's face.
陽道や上司どもは俺らを使いなんとか新政府に取り入ろうとしたけんど羅刹や落ち水という下道の策に乗るほど薩長は愚かやないろ。俺らがここで全滅したら土佐と薩長のつながりは完全に断たれる。連中の目論みは外れたいうことよ。奴らの悔しがる顔が目に浮かぶ。愉快やにゃ坂本。
All along, Nakaoka hadn't just wanted revenge. He fought for respect in the eyes of the Tokugawa clan, for the dignity of the people whom he believed deserved more than the flawed feudal hierarchy.
ああ、そうやにゃ。
Tears glistened in the corner of Ryoma's eyes as he listened to his friend speak intently. It was a dream the two of them shared together, once as best friends and still as adversaries.
坂本土佐を尊王攘夷の先駆けにするち夢は叶わんままやったけんど竹地先生はこの顛末を見て満足してくださると思うかえ。
さっきも言うたやいか。人一人ができることら限りがあるき。俺らが竹地さんから渡されたタスキを引き継いでくれちゅうやつはおるはずよ。薩摩にも長州にもにゃ。
そうか。
Eventually, Nakoka's gaze drifted towards me. His glare, which was often contemptuous or disconcerting, was replaced by an earnest smile. For once, I could envision them as friends.
こいつのことを頼んだぜよ。手綱がないと天まで登っていく男やきにゃ。おまんがしっかり握って離さんようにしちゃってくれ。
Okay. As badly as I wanted to assure him, I was keeping myself from breaking down. Ryoma too was fighting back tears. I felt like a witness to an intimate moment which shouldn't have been shared with me. But here I was. Even so, I took a moment to collect myself and found the will to speak up once more. I will. All you need to do now is rest, Nakoka. Once the words left my mouth, the muscles of Nakoka's face softened from relief. And then... his flesh was slowly beginning to crumble like the ashy burnt end of an incense, and disappeared. Ryoma heaved a heavy sigh, letting go of the pain that he had been keeping pent up inside of himself. Once Nakoka remains had been reduced to dust, neither Ryoma nor I moved a muscle. I jumped as the door behind me slid wide open. Had Sanan-san and Heisuke arrived just in the nick of time? Sweat began to coat my palms despite my best efforts to rub them dry in an anxious fit.
中岡君を倒してしまったんだな。
Hello, my heart skipped a beat again. Father! How did Father appear here all of a sudden? If he was standing here, then did something happen to Sanan-san and Heisuke?
千鶴、私と共に来るつもりはないかね。お前がどうしてもというのであれば、坂本君も共に来てくれて構わん。
I could.
挫折となってしまった彼は今後、人間の世界で生きていくことなど叶わんだろう。表向きは死んだことになっているだろうからね。お前が我々と共に来るならば、彼を雪村家の名士として迎え入れることを約束させてもらうよ。
騙されたらいかんぜよ、千鶴。中岡も土佐のゴーシュラーも、そしてあの南雲薫も、そいつの口車に乗せられたがぜよ。
Ryoma spit a mouthful of blood out of his mouth as he pointed his pistol towards my father. I know that.
弾が尽きれば役に立たん。その子供騙しのおもちゃで私と戦うつもりかね。
Father smiled eerily as he pulled a scalpel from out of his pocket. Just then,
おいおい、俺たちもいるってことを忘れちゃ困るぜ。
that voice.
やや手間取りましたが、間一髪間に合ったようですね。
These two, I swear to God! God! Sanan-san! Heisuke! Relief washed over me in spite of their blood-soaked attire. which gave their appearance a nightmarish quality.
まだ生きていたか。あれだけの数の羅刹と戦った後だ。君たちの寿命はもうほとんど残ってはいないはずだが。
おっしゃる通りですが、あなたと共に地獄を旅するだけの時間は残っていますよ。思えば数奇な縁ですね。あなたが持ち込んだあの薬がなければ、我々がこうしてここに立っていることなどありえなかった。
坂本、そいつを連れて先にここを出てくれ。行動さんは俺たちが片付ける。
映画か。
いいに決まってんだろ。これが正真正銘俺たちの最後の見せ場なんだからさ。
Sanonson and Heisuke could barely support their own weight. They were disheveled with serious wounds. It was inconceivable that they could stand, let alone do so with a smile.
千鶴、行くぜよ。
Initially, I resisted. Part of me had wanted to stay behind, bidding farewell to the two men who had done so much for me. But I knew they would refuse. I let the image of Sanonson and Heisuke's gallant posture burn in my eyes. Then Ryoma and I broke off into a sprint.
ここまで来ればひとまず大丈夫やろ。大丈夫かい、千鶴。
Hi. All of my emotional and physical exhaustion came to a head, and I dropped to the ground. Far away in the background was Shirakawa Castle, which stood majestically in the center of a bleak field.
城に立てこもった羅刹がおらんなったがよ。今日には新政府軍か会津のどっちかが白川城を落としてしまうろう。どっちにせよ俺にできることはもうなんちゃ残っちゃせんき。あとは生きちゅうやつらに任せるしかない。
Ryoma turned her solemn gaze over toward the east.
けんど今日はやけに日の光が眩しいにゃ。
Ryoma, get into the shade.
いや、大丈夫ぜよ。忘れたかか。俺らは新選組の羅刹と違うで、日の光の下でも平気ぜよ。
Are you sure? You're not forcing yourself, are you?
無理やないき。信用ないにゃ。
It's not that I don't trust you. I'm just worried is all. Ryoma shot me a tender glance and reached over to comb my hair gently with his thick fingers.
ありがとう。こんなに心配してもらえるなんて男冥利に尽きるぜよ。これからはおまんに心配かけるようなことはせんき。約束する。
Promise?
おう、もちろんよ。なんやったら誓いの口づけでもするかい？
What? Here? No?
誰も見ちゃせんき。平気よ。ほら、目を閉じや。
Upon Ryoma's insistence, I shut my eyes and just as our lips were about to meet,
お前らイチャつくんならもう少し場所を選んだらどうだ。
Shiranui, Okay, now I understand his bad luck statement.
この辺りには新政府軍の奴らや会津藩の連中がうろうろしてるんだぜ。
知らない。
ったく、おまんはいっつもええ雰囲気になった時に限って邪魔してくれるにゃ。
てめえがいつも人目もはばからずにその女の人とイチャついてるせいだろうが。
知らない。What are you doing here? Have you followed father here too?
そうなんだが、残念ながら俺様が来る前に全部終わっちまったみてえだな。
そういうことよ。不満があるがやったら新選組のやつらに言うてくれ。
俺様は長州にボロ負けする寸前の奴らに不満ぶちまけるほど鬼畜でもねえよ。
長州薩長じゃのうで。
長州だよ。薩摩なんて後から勝手に便乗してきただけじゃねえか。
高杉のおらん長州には興味ないらって言いよったけんど、おまなんだかんだ言うて長州のやつらのこと気に入っちゅうがやにゃ。
ああ、くだらねえこと言ってんじゃねえ。ぶっ殺すぞ。
Shiranui chortled at his own joke, turning to look over his shoulder back at Shirakawa Castle.
会津が落ちりゃ旧幕府軍の負けはほぼ確定だろうな。
やろうにゃ。おまんはこれからどうするかぜよ。
羅刹どもがいなくなった今、人間どもの歴史に関わってもしょうがねえからな。高杉と知り合う前みてえに里で静かに暮らすさ。で、長州の奴らがこれからどんな国を作っていくのかを眺めるのが当面の楽しみだな。
きっとええ国になるろ。
だといいがな。そんじゃ、俺はもう行くぜ。
Shiranui spun on his heel and sauntered into the forest.
さて、置いたら俺らも俺らの歴史を作る旅に出るかい。
History of our own?
ああ、海の外へ連れて行っちゃるち約束したろ。
Well, yeah, I remember, but are you really going to keep your promise?
当たり前よ。この俺に不可能なんてないぜよ。ついてきや。
Ryoma beamed as he skipped towards me and he swept me off my feet, lifting me into his arms. Ryoma! I can walk on my own!
Come on, come on. 来ればさせろや。
With one chapter of his life ended, what future did Ryoma plan in store for himself next? With everything up in the air, it was easy to worry. But even so, knowing that the two of us could finally be together made it a future worth looking forward to. That's it! Sakamoto's route is done and I don't know how to feel. Like this one in particular, it's like... Okay. I like that it's not around the Shinsengumi as much as it should be. I like that it involves Shiranui. I like that we were kept in Edo in Kyoto for a bit before we went back to Edo. I'm a little baffled with Kaoru. Because it seems a bit out of character for him. Because I think the first time we ever see Kaoru as Kaoru is in Okita's route, and in Okita's route, Kaoru hates the fuck out of Chizuru, right? So why is it in this one he has love for her in some way, shape, and form? I don't know. I think even in Sun and Sun's route, Kaoru was like, I hate you. I think every route we've seen is I hate you, but in this one in particular, it's like doing that? Is he putting on a show? I don't think so, because that thing when he died, It's like, oh, actually still care for you deep down. As for Ryoma, he's interesting. I don't know where I put him. Also, we found out he's 10 years older than the protagonist. He is probably the boldest character in this game, which I am for. He also never uses a sword. He does use gun, which is different weapon. Alright, I appreciate that for difference in things. But he also never uses sword. I don't know. But now we have a final chapter to do. Let's do it! Let's see what happens! What's our after story? Please be what I think it is. Yes! Ryoma managed, as he often did, to pull some strings together and concocted his friend, Iwasaki, who was more than willing to offer him a vessel to sail. Yataro Iwasaki, a warrior of the Tosa domain who was a close friend of Ryoma Sakamoto's. Under orders of the Tosa domain, he managed the accounting records for the Kaientai. Thus our new journey began. I need to see this. What is it? I smiled, realizing it was the first time I had set foot on a ship with Ryoma. He was in his element at last. Are we in a cute little western outfit? Oh my god, wearing a shirt. She said it was in a shirt, and I can't tell if her hair is cut or tied. But if it's cut, I love it. If it's tied, I still love it. There was a spring in his step, as if his sea legs evoked an energy not present when he was on land.
そう言うたら覚えちゅうかい。西洋には結婚した男女が一緒に旅に出る風習があるいうが。
You mentioned it in a letter you wrote to me back when I was in Kyoto.
日本広しといえど、異国に新婚旅行に出る側は俺らが初めてやろ。
You might have a point there. As I became acquainted with Ryoma, I learned never to be surprised by his antics, but even still, he found ways to surprise me, to warm my heart at a moment's notice. Ryoma, what's the plan after we finish our overseas trip?
そうやな。いろんな国を見て回って、商売して大金持ちになって、何年後かに日本を陰から助ける謎の東洋人がおるらーって噂が流れたら面白いと思わんかい？
That is a story. I gasped, being taken aback by the brevity in his answer. But, well, I'm sure you can make that happen.
やろ？そう無茶な目標でもないき。
Ryoma gazed back into my eyes with a childlike sense of wonder.
おまんはずっと俺の隣でそうやって笑うちょってくれ。
Okay, looking at this now that her head had moved, I think she cut her hair! I think she cut her hair short and I fucking live for this!
おまんがそばにおってくれたら俺はどんな無茶でもできるき。
A strange twist of fate brought us together, but here we are, brought together by the most random of circumstances. In Ryoma, I found someone with a lust for life, second only to his love for me. It only felt natural that I dedicated the rest of my future to him, to become his until the end of time. As the tender rays of the suns kissed our skin, I made a vow to hold on to his love forever. That, I knew they were hinting at it the entire fucking time. It's like very obvious hints. But it's so cute. I can't. And I still think she cut her hair. Achievement unlocked. Happiness is a warm gun. Alright. DLC. I'm obligated to do Kazuma's first. Because we didn't do Kazuma because I forgot DLC existed. So we're gonna do it. (1869) March. So we're in Sendai? Or is this after? Okay, it is Sendai. Sendai was warm and temperate on this summer's eve, and we were still struggling to find a vessel to bring us to Ezo and reunite with the Shinsengumi.
戻ったぞ、雪村の娘。夕飯の支度はできているのだろうな。
Give me a moment. I'll prepare it at once. What are you laughing about in there?
以前のお前は人に懐かぬ野良猫のようなありさまだったが、近頃ようやく未来の夫への敬意が芽生えてきたと見える。
Whose husband?
ほう、お前は好意も持っておらぬ男のために飯炊きをするのが趣味なのか。
I think this man forgot that we were living with the Shinsengumi that's full of men. Oh no, I didn't say that. I'm merely returning a courtesy since you were so generous in taking me in. I decided to handle the housework. It's an exchange.
そういえば、お前は長い間新選組の連中のために飯炊きや掃除などのくだらぬ雑務をこなしていたのだったな。まったく誇り高き純潔の女鬼を下働きとしてこき使うなど。
Someone had to do it.
あの時代錯誤の犬どもは100回殺しても殺し足りぬな。
Alright, don't say that. Don't be rude.
いいからさっさと用意をしろ。俺は空腹で気が立っているのだ。
Okay, pushy. I mean, he's the one who entered the room and began speaking combatively to me. His pompousness knew no limits, and I scoffed in the other room. Although I was grateful for his hospitality, even he got into these aggressive moods. When he got into these aggressive moods, I felt inclined to give him a taste of his own medicine. Apologies for keeping you waiting, Kazuma. Here you go. I set down a tray of pickled plum, grilled fish, rice, and soup in front of him. Ah! I snagged my foot on the mat and tripped before spilling the tray's contents on the floor.
危ない!
Kazuma had caught my body and I fell in his direction, but the miso soup, which had still been scalding, splashed into the back of my hand.
大丈夫か? 見せてみろ.
It's alright. It's a little burned, but if I put a cold compress on it, the swelling will reduce.
冷やしておけば治るだと。お前は一体どこまで粗骨なのだ。膳を運ぶときはきちんと足元を見ろ。
Why are you being such a jerk? It's not like I spent all that time in the kitchen just to drop the food and piss you off.
自ら望んで怪我をする者がどこにいるというのだ。お前はただの人間の娘ではないのだぞ。 この日の元にも数えるほどしか残っておらぬ誇り高き純潔の女鬼なのだ。その身を不注意で傷つけるなど。なんだその顔は。この俺の言に誤りでもあるというのか。
Stop me if I'm wrong, but is this just your way of telling me that you're concerned about me? Kazuma furrowed his brow deep enough to hide himself inside of it.
雪村家の棟梁筋の鬼たる者がくだらぬ問いを口にするな。この膳は俺が片付けておく。お前はその火傷を冷やしてこい。なんだ、まだ気になることでもあるのか。
Oh no. Thank you, Kazuma.
俺はお前の親ではない。いつでもこうして世話を焼いてやれると思うな。
With that, Kazuma lifted all of the dishes into his arms and stormed into the kitchen. Well, his sarcastic tone of voice had rubbed me the wrong way tonight. He had his own way of showing how much he cared. From now, I suppose it was worth it for me to take better care of myself, if not just for my sake. Okay, now we can do Sakamoto's and be done with this DLC. (1868) March. We're still in Edo. A few days after moving back into my childhood home from the Shinsengumi compounds.
ごちそうさん。おま料理うまいにゃ。どれもうまかったぜよ。
It's my pleasure. I'm just happy you finished everything. I stood up from the table and started to gather the dishes by stacking them together when...
膳はそこに置いときや。片付けは俺がしとくき。
What? But...
Come on, come on. 女の尻に敷かれる側は嫌いやないち。前に言うたろ。
Alright. I guess I can take you up on your offer then. Excuse me while I put our bedding then. Excuse me while I put out our bedding then. As I spun into my heel to exit from the room,
待ちや。
Sakamoto clutched my waist and drew me close to his chest. I froze, feeling my heart patter inside of my chest as he fixed his stare upon me. What's the matter? As futile as it sounds, I tried hiding my flustered cheeks from giving myself away, squeezing the words from out of my mouth timidly.
とりあえず手を振り払われる場は嫌われちゃせんってことか。チックと安心したき。
I had somehow missed the point that Ryoma was trying to make, tilting my head in confusion.
単刀直入に聞くけんど、俺は一体いつまで我慢しちょったらええがかい。
Keep you waiting?
とぼけちゅうわけやないよにゃ。男と一つ屋根の下で寝起きするいうががどういうことかわからん年やないろ。
Well...
俺のことを何とも思うちゃせんがやったら、わざわざこうやって家に誘うたりはせんろうし。どっちぜよ。この先望みはあるがかないがか。俺はどうしたらええがな。強引にことに及ぶこともできんことはないけんど、おまん相手にはそうはしとうないき。
The fact you said, does he need to do a dance? My brain just jumps to birds immediately. bird dances. Why? There was some merit to his argument. If it were anyone other than Ryoma, then I likely wouldn't have invited him to stay with me, much less eat a dinner I had spent hours making. But it was a sudden imposition, and he was pursuing me into making a decision.
新選組の奴らから俺の悪い噂をいろいろ聞かされた気かい？俺としたら今こうやって目の前におる俺を見て判断してくれとしか言いようがないがやけんど。
That's not it at all. Besides, rumors are just hearsay, and I have no reason to judge you over things like that. It's just that, I'm not entirely sure if I feel comfortable with what you're offering. Please, don't take this the wrong way or anything, Ryoma, but allowing myself to succumb to his charm, as effective as it was, felt like I was relinquishing a part of myself that I was uncomfortable giving. My feelings for him aside, I still liked the idea of maintaining a sense of mystery between us, and that wasn't going to change. Not tonight, at least. Ryoma thinned his eyes, carefully inspecting my reasoning as he slowly loosened his grip around my waist.
まあえい。19、20歳のガキでもないし、焦る必要はないか。わかった。おまんの気持ちの整理がつくまで待っちゃるき。
Really?
うん。嫌がる女に手を出すらて趣味やないき。
A huge sense of relief washed over me. My biggest fear wasn't offending or upsetting him and pushing him away just because I had felt uncertain about something I didn't understand. Knowing that he could act in accordance with my wishes endeared me to him even more.
ま、今の時点で答えはもう分かりきっちゅう気もするけど。
I lifted my head up toward him and he pulled me in by the waist, towards his soft, plump lips. They pressed against my forehead and warmth trickled throughout my entire body. It was a familiar sensation, one I could never forget. This is... Ryoma! Once more he had suddenly imposed himself upon me, this time in the form of a friendly kiss, but...
これはしても構わんろ。初めてやないがやき。
It's not a matter of whether we've done it before or not.
あ、もしかして額やのうで唇の方が良かったかい？ほんならもう一回やり直そうか。
Do I have to keep on repeating myself? He ran his coarse, thick fingers through my hair, stroking them with a delicate touch.
その様子やったら近いうちに覚悟が決まりそうやにゃ。ほんなら俺は善を片付けてくるき。
As he let me go, my heart pounded with the intensity of a galloping horse. Why is that so specific? He sauntered back to the dining table, stacking the dishes before heading towards the kitchen. Later that night, I had a fit of insomnia, replaying the words he told me before placing his warm lips in the middle of my forehead. My heart pined for him, but time would tell. What is Edo? I'm not gonna click that right now. I'm not Edo treasure box. Whatever that is, I don't. We'll find out later. I'm afraid, cause this thing just unlocked. No, we're not. We're not looking at that now. What we're gonna do is, we're gonna at least start the Heske route, okay? Let me find the guide. I got it. We're gonna switch to Kyoto Wind, so... Boop. Boop. Let me find it. Let me find it. Boop. And now I gotta change the game. Tell me that switched. Yes, it did. Alright. We're back here, and we're gonna play the intro again. See you in 2 minutes! We have arrived. It's time to really start it. I'm ending the stream at 6, so we get like 15 minutes. Let's see how far we can go. Alright, yep, stick with Chizuru. This is a work of fiction. Name characters, businesses, places, events, and instances mentioned in this work do not have any direct... We'll never know. Alright. It's skipping time! A lot of this we have seen, I think. Yeah, I think every single... Almost all of these we have seen before. This is gonna be short. We might get through 2 chapters if we skip. So let's start skipping! You know, we've been through this song and dance before. We got tied up, we see shit because we saw shit we weren't supposed to see, and we were taken to the Hinshin compounds, and now they're gonna see what the fuck they do with us. Skip. Da 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 That sounded like Pollyanna. What the fuck? I think it did.
俺たちしおい
Come on. I'm literally button mashing. I don't have that quick of a button mash, I think. Attempt to explain my situation. They're coming in. And the thing that gets Heisuke is... Decided to tell them I wasn't a boy. As I had to turn to go, I rounded on Tolo to glare at him furiously. Earlier you said a man should know when to accept his fate. You don't think there's anything wrong with killing a man before hearing him out?
お前さ、口の利き方に気をつけろよ。自分がどんな立場かわからないわけ。そっちこそ男らしい態度取れば、俺らの事情を素直に受け入れればいいだろう。
But I'm not a man.
もしかしてさ、女とか。
うん。
ちょっと待てって。
それは
ま、確かにそんな感じだな。体の線が女性的で柔らかいというか。
そんなもんわかるか。普通女は袴なんて履かねえだろうが。
女子でもなぎなたや馬術の際に袴は用いるぞ。
Thank you, Saito. Okay, now we skip. Da da da. Oh, we're skipping a lot. I'm sorry. But let's see how far we can go. We get to stay now! Da 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 da. They found out my last name is Yukimura and I'm related to Kodo Yukimura. Because I am his daughter and he's an idiot not telling them he has a daughter. Da 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 da. Actually, no. Actually, I remember what scene is after this one. Okay. Actually, I have to do that scene fully, I think. I think. Maybe not. Right, skipping all this so we can get to the thing. Yes, I still have to dress as a boy. I understand, Hijikata. I can't be a girl in a household full of men. That is a bad idea. So I'll just dress as a boy and be your page. Let's see. I know what I did wrong. Hold on. I have to change something. Dan! Suck for so rude. Okay. Let's see. It's me. Hi! What are we doing? Searching the compound. We're back at ground zero! As I thought about it. We're fine. We're just doing Heisuke's route a little bit because we finished Sakamoto. Yeah, that's it. Alright, we headed out. We're looking around. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage, and stepped out of the room. There's no one here. I looked around. The hall was utterly empty. Then again, since I'd snuck out of my room, it was probably for the best that no one had seen me. Ah, farming. That's fun. Still, I felt a little guilty about it. Perhaps I should have just stayed in my room. If I wandered around the compound, it was likely I'd see something I wasn't supposed to. I'd already stumbled onto one of the Shinsengumi secrets the night I met them. I had no wish to do so again. Maybe I should reconsider. After some deliberation, I decided it was best to return to my room, but as I turned to walk back... From near the entrance, I heard something. Slowly, I peeked around the corner. Walking towards the door, looking as if they would prefer not to be seen, were Harada and Nagakura. What? Oh, Lord. Okay. Oh. Can I come with you? Maybe if they let me go outside, I could finally start looking for my father.
そりゃ別に構わねえが、お前は楽しくないんじゃねえかな。
連れて行けるかバカ。勝手に許可してんじゃねえよ。
ああ、外出禁止なんだっけな、お前。それより見張りなしで部屋から出てていいのか？
Well, where are you going anyway?
おいおい、ごまかすなよ。まあ、いいけどな。俺らはこれから島原に行くとこだ。
Shimabara? The name was familiar. Wait, isn't that in the red light district? Nagakura shook his head between us and sighed.
女の子に向かって島原に行くとかわざわざ本当のこと言うなよ。
嘘つけねえんだよ俺。知ってんだろ。考えに繰り出すくらい別にやましくもねえし。
Ah, yes, the red light district.
お前は酒が目当てだろうから後ろめたくもなんともねえだろうよ。
Nagakura, are you going for something other than the alcohol?
いや、その酒っていうかなんていうか、ほら、お酒っていうだろ。
True, there was likely no shortage of beautiful women throughout Shimabara. Someone like Harada who visited just for the drinks was a rarity, if I were to guess. But you're going in the afternoon?
真っ昼間から酒飲むのも男のロマンってやつなんじゃねえの？
Harada held a natural charm that seemed to shrug off any judgment over possible impropriety. Ugh. Well, even so, I hardly think it's good to be drinking in the afternoon. Even if it was every man's dream, it didn't feel right to condone it. Two captains drinking during the afternoon would hardly help the Shinsengumi's low public opinion. Then again, perhaps it wasn't my business to think of the Shinsengumi's public reputation.
あのよ、昼から遊び歩くのはあんまり常識的じゃないってお前の言うこともわかるんだけどよ。近頃の今日は何かと物騒なんだ。俺たち新選組だってうかつに夜遊びできねえ。
He's bringing the crocodile tears. True.
だから常識に縛られず行きたい時に行く。真っ昼間から遊びに行くことを迷わねえ。
That didn't really seem right. But even so, on some level, his absurd logic made some sense. After all, everyone needs to relax from time to time, especially if they have the worries of the Shinsengumi. Look, Nagakura's gonna be loud as fuck because he's passionate as fuck, alright? And if they worked at night, then when else would they go out but the afternoon? I was reflecting upon this when Todo walked in.
あれ、まさかお前も行くの？
Well, I still haven't received permission to leave the house. I don't want Hijikata-san to get mad at me.
そっか。そいつは残念だな。
You going to Shimabara too then, Todo?
ああ、そうだけど。って東堂さんとか他人行儀な呼び方やめようぜ。
Well, what should I call you then?
平介でいいよ。みんなも俺のこと平介って呼ぶし、これからしばらく一緒に暮らすんだしよ。それにそのデスマスもやめようぜ。年も近いからもっと気楽に話してくれよ。
Really? I just didn't want to be rude, Todo.
ほら、治ってないぜ。
Alright then, Heisuke.
そうそう。んじゃあ、今日から改めてよろしくな。
It's a pleasure to meet you too, Heisuke. It wasn't anything important, I knew, but something about the exchange made me feel happy. Heisuke had, perhaps unknowingly, cheered me up. But... You're still going to Shimabara then?
そりゃその。でも島原だから女ってわけじゃねえよ。みんなで酒飲んでバカ騒ぎしたい気分なんだ。
Oh.
お前が女の格好をしてくれるんならそれだけで十分に目の保養なんだけどな。
What?
あ、俺も絶対可愛いと思う。いろいろ落ち着いたら振り袖とか着てみせてくれよな。
You guys, this is just so sudden. It was embarrassing for them to treat me like a girl all of a sudden, as if it just occurred to them. Dress like a girl? What should I tell them? Sure, when I get the chance someday. Not sure of what else to do, I nodded awkwardly and they beamed back at me. When I get the chance someday. Sound good?
本当か？やったぜ！約束だぞ。忘れんなよ。
I didn't need Heisuke's advice on how I should dress, considering it was something I looked forward to once I got the opportunity. So why did I feel so embarrassed? Once we settled the topic of the appropriateness of my wardrobe, Nagakura shared his opinion.
そういうわけでさしてくれよ。俺らは汗水垂らして今日の治安を守ってんだぜ。
That's not a very convincing excuse. Despite my reservations, I understood the truth. They were partaking in normal activities for men. Besides, it was hard to try and stop them in the first place. I certainly had no authority over them. Well, visiting pleasure quarters in broad daylight wasn't my thing. If their superiors took no issue, I was a guest of the Shinsengumi, and it would be rude of me to try and tell them what to do. But even so, they went out of their way to talk to me until I felt better about the situation. This showed they were good men with nothing to hide. Alright. I suppose their reasoning made sense to me, and part of me was just envious of them. I too wanted to be free of the staleness in this compound and search for my father. Alright. Bye-bye. Have a good sleep.
土産買ってきてやる。何か食べたいものあるか？
Even though I was still turning the issue at hand in my head, the thought of food made me salivate. Alright then, I'd like some tangerines. Maybe we can eat them together tomorrow afternoon?
そいつはいいな。わかったぜ。
土方さんから外出許可が下りたらさ、お前の好きなとこ連れてってやるから。
Thank you. But Heisuke, you don't need to worry, alright? Even if you couldn't take me out now, it's the thought that counts. Thanks for cheering me up.
悪いな。ちゃっくら出かけてくるぜ。
Just as I waved to send those three off...
おや、これからみんなで出かけるのかい？
All of us nonchalantly turned our heads around to see Inoue pacing towards us.
よりによって源さんかよ。
おっと、こいつは参ったな。
They all refused to make eye contact and fell silent, so I responded to Inoue in their stead. Well, I'm not going anywhere, but, I had no idea what else to say. Were they expecting me to cover for them?
ほら、あれだよ、源さん、あれ。みんなで素振りでもしようかなって。
Heisuke quickly warmed to his excuse as to Nagakura.
そう、それだ、平介。よく言った。今日は天気もいいし、風が暖かいからな。
What they said. After hearing their excuse, Inoue reacted.
いやはや長倉くんたちは熱心だな。せっかくの機会だ。私も付き合わせてくれるかい？
He looked honestly happy, pleased with the dedication of his fellows.
それは。
Well, they fucked themselves over.
そうきたか。
Seeing as they were hopeless in getting themselves out of this, I decided to lend them a hand. You guys are really going to train? Just then Heisuke opened his mouth.
あ、ごめん。俺もみんなと素振りしたいけど、今日は先約があるから付き合えないんだった。
Plans?
こいつに豚書の中を案内してやるって約束。そうだったよな。
It was news to me.
なあ、頼む。話を合わせてくれ。
He gave me a desperate, somber look with eyes like a sad puppy. I had no choice but to go along. That's right.
そうそう、そうだよな。
His eyes sparkled and he grabbed a hold of my hand and began to walk off. Heisuke had cheered me up earlier, after all. Perhaps in this way I was returning the favor.
待て、平介。一人だけ逃げようなんざ。
Before he could even finish, Hanada interrupted, a mischievous grin appearing on his face.
俺も付き合ってやるよ。他の大使に絡まれちゃ面倒だろ。
Well, I suppose you have a point.
そうかそうか。原田くんの言うことはもっともだね。
Once again disregarding Heisuke's abilities.
彼女のことは二人にお任せするとして。じゃあ長倉くん、我々は中庭に行こうか。
平介のみならず、お前もか佐野。
His knuckles turned white and his face shook with exasperation.
よし、逃げぞ。
What?
新発さんすぐ怒るからな。
Heisuke grabbed my hand and Harada pushed me from behind, and soon we were moving away from the entrance at a rapid clip.
こんな裏切り者！戻ってこい！
Nagakura's shouts were echoing, but the laughter of the two men caused their eyes to sparkle in kind. It was infectious, and I couldn't help but laugh with them, my worries gradually drifting from me. After the commotion settled, Heisuke and Harada gave me a tour around the headquarters. Nagakura, alternatively, had no such luck. I heard later that he and Inoue spent the rest of the day training, just the two of them. At the end of the day, I think he's a good man. And that is where we ended. I know we started his skits, but that'll be it. No art stream tonight because this is the replacement for art stream. And probably no art stream on Thursday. Maybe if I feel like it. Friday we'll come back with more Hakuoki, probably no art stream, but what day is it? What day is the thing? Saturday the 17th. Yes. Saturday the 17th, there's gonna be a charity event raising money for the whole wildfires in Canada thing. I'm gonna be a part of that. And I think we're gonna be doing an art stream where I go back to my roots, drawing something I haven't drawn in quite a while. But with that, that's all you need to know, really. So I will bid you all a good day, a good night, a good morning, drink water, have sweet dreams if you're gonna go to sleep, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.